Discover the Elizabeth Dress PDF sewing pattern. This pattern includes a gathered bodice, long sleeves and options for a short or long skirt. It's a great dress for any season. Upgrade your sewing with this stylish and unique design. You will need a main fabric. Check the table for quantities depending on which style you plan on making. A lining fabric. Also check the table. 20 centimeters of fusing and a 60 centimeter or 24-inch invisible zip. Cut out all of the pattern pieces for version A or B depending on which dress you would like to make, following the instructions on each piece. Mark all darts and notches on the fabric pieces. To mark the dart points, push the pin through the pattern piece and open up and make a mark where the pin is on the wrong side of the fabric. Match dart notches and fold in half with the mark previously made and pin well. Do the same for the lining. Sew from the notch to the dart point, slightly going over the edge. Sew all darts on all pieces of the dress. On the front, press the lower darts towards the side seam and the bust dart press down towards the waistline. Also press from the right side of the fabric to check neatness. On the front bodice gathered section, do 2 rows of gather stitch, one at 7mm and one at 5mm between the notches on the bottom edge. Using one of the bodice lining pieces, place right side up and place the gathered piece also right side up. Gather the stitches carefully so that the length of the gathered bodice matches the lining. Tip: pin the center front points together and gather evenly from each side of the bodice. Pin or peg both pieces together and then base stitch all around. Placing right sides together, pin back panels to the front bodice at the side seams and the shoulders. Sew together and press the seams open. Repeat the last 2 steps with the bodice lining. Place the skirt front, right side up. Place the skirt back panels right side down, making sure notches at the centre back. And sew down the side seams. Repeat for the skirt lining if you are using one. Press skirt seams open, also for the lining. Also press from the right side. Put bodice and skirt right side together and pin, starting by matching the centre front and the side seams. Ease the fabric together and pin well. Repeat this process for the lining. Sew together carefully, trying to keep the curve smooth. With right sides together, the main fabric and lining match the necklines. Pin at the shoulder seams first and ease the rest around, pinning well. Sew together. Make small snips in the seam allowance around the neckline. This will let the curve lie flat. Turn to the right side and understitch on the lining side, starting and finishing 1.5 centimeters from the center back. Turn to the right side and press well. With each sleeve, right sides together along the side seam. Pin well. Do the same for both. Pin well and sew. Carefully press the seams open, making sure you don't add folds to the seams. Iron the fusing to the cuffs. You may want to iron the cuff first before adding the fusing. And then put right sides together along the shortest section and sew. Press cuff seam open and fold in half, matching the seams. Press carefully, trying not to add any fold lines. Make 2 rows of gather stitch, one at 5mm and one at 7mm, between the 2 notches on the sleeve top. Also gather stitch around the sleeve armhole. Carefully pull the gather stitches at the bottom of the sleeve until it's the same size as the cuff, placing the sleeve inside the cuff matching right sides to right sides and the lining up the seams. Pin well. Sew carefully around the cuff, making sure you're not catching the other side of the cuff with the needle. For a better finish, you can overlock the edge. If you don't have an overlocker, you can bind the seam. Base stitch around the armhole, attaching the main fabric with the lining. Pin sleeve into the armhole by first matching the underarm seams and then the center notch with the shoulder seam. Gently pull the gather stitches to ease around and fit into the armhole. Pin well and sew. To finish properly, overlock the seam. If you don't have an overlocker, you can also bind the seam. Pin back seam from notch to hem on the skirt and sew. Press seam open. To add the zip, mark 1.3 centimeters or half an inch from the top edge of both back pieces. It will be roughly 3 millimeters from the stitch line. This is where the plastic zipper stop will be placed. Using the mark, place the zipper down one side of the center back, on the right side of the fabric. Pin in place, and if you need to hand tack, do this first and remove the pins before sewing on the machine. Tip: stitch the zipper starting top to bottom as it helps the zip to stay flat. Make sure zipper teeth are rolled out flat. Then position the zipper foot, making sure that the needle will sew as close as possible to the zipper teeth. Use an invisible zipper foot if you have one. If you don't have one, then I would suggest using a regular zipper foot and trying to get the needle as close as you can to the teeth. Pin the other half of the zipper to the other center back seam and repeat the last 2 steps. With the zipper open, flip the lining over so that both the lining and the main fabric are right sides together. The zip should be sandwiched between the 2 fabrics. Pin well down both sides of the zip. Sew down this seam with a zipper foot. Turn to the right side. Sew or overlock the lining, placing right sides together from the notch to the hem. Overlock for a neater finish. If you don't have an overlocker, press seam open. Overlock the hem of the dress. Turn up and top stitch. If you don't have an overlocker, use a pin hem. Overlock the hem of the lining. Also use a pin hem for this too if you don't have an overlocker. Give your dress one final press and enjoy wearing it. I would love to see what you have made. Share your dress online with the hashtag AmyElizabethDress.